Now, the last time I was talking to you about Athens, actually about Greece. That is what I was talking to you about. So let me do a big recap. It's been quite some time. Not a big recap, a small recap. I don't know why I said big recap. These days I say things that I don't know myself. Anyway, so if you look at Greece, I told you that ancient Greece can broadly, very broadly, it's not a, no, I'm aware of that. I'm aware of the fact that I've done Parmenides. The recapitulation that I'm doing before we reach Athens is that if you look at ancient Greece, there are different time periods. One which is identified with the Milesian school. It's called the Milesian school because it came from Miletus. Then came the Eleatic school, Eleatic, Eleatic school because it's from Elea. And in this you have Parmenides and Zeno. And as I was reminded, I have finished this, Parmenides and Zeno. Then you have the third period, which technically doesn't exist as a period in itself, but nevertheless, I'm using it as a period in itself because it has its own identity. So if you basically look at the period that I'm talking about, it's called the Athenian period. And then you have the fourth phase, which is the Hellenistic phase, Hellenistic, Hellenistic phase. And I had told you that Greece shines till the Athenian period. Okay, it shines till the Athenian period, but from the Hellenistic period onwards, it goes into a decline. When I say it goes into a decline, what I mean is that all the attempts that people were making till that particular time to try and, what should I say, to try and understand the universe, to try and explain the universe, all those are given up in the Hellenistic period. In the Hellenistic, the Hellenistic period basically reflects the decline of Greece, like I said, and it is also something which is which can be considered to be a pessimistic period in Greek civilization. Now let's try to contextualize the term pessimistic. It is pessimistic in the sense that till the Hellenistic period, there were all kinds of attempts. There were all kinds of attempts being made by various different philosophers. And these people were, in effect, trying to explain the world. If you remember what I told you about the Eleatic period and specifically about Parmenides, I had told you that Parmenides is perhaps the world's first documented ontologist. And I had also told you that not only is he an ontologist, he also combines his ontology with, what should I say? He combines his ontology along with metaphysics. Yeah, that was the word I was looking for. Metaphysics. Okay, it's metaphysics because the explanations that Parmenides gives about the world are those which are beyond physics. The world is the physical world. And when you say something is meta, meta is that which is above something. So metaphysical basically means that you're rising over the physical world. The Milesian school, like I told you, was something that was talking about, it was something that was talking about the world in terms of its physicality. But the Eleatic school, Parmenides and Zeno, both believe that the way to understand the world is not by trying to understand matter, but by trying to understand what is to be called the, what should I say, what is to be called the metaphysical, non-material way of understanding the world. So that is one thing. And it had a profound effect on people like Plato and Socrates. Now, if you look at the Hellenistic period, it is very, very pessimistic in the sense that they have tried to give up understanding the world. Not tried to give up, they had given up attempts at understanding the world. And that is seen in the various different schools that existed. The Stoics believed that what will be, we can't change it. the cynics who believe that nothing can ever be known about the world. And you also have this particular uh, school, which is called the Epicurean school, uh, because it is something that owes its lineage to Epicurus, who was a cripple. And Epicurus was somebody who basically believed that there was no soul. If you remember, I told you that Pythagoras was one of the influences on Plato. He was also an influence on Aristotle. So they talk about the soul, whereas Epicurus basically says there is no such thing as a soul. The body is just matter, energy. When the energy runs out, you die. So he said, you don't have to worry about any other worlds, the next world, this world, and just enjoy yourself. So Epicureanism is decadent philosophy. It's decadent because it is asking you not to investigate into anything, but just wine and dine. Literally wine and dine is what was encouraged by Epicurus as such. Now, to come back to the Athenian period, now I've given you a broad overview of the old Greek civilization. The old Greek civilization, like the Indian civilization, is also a cosmology. It did not survive as a cosmology. It only it just disappeared. Today's Greece has very little to do with its past, except perhaps for those constructions which the Parthenon and all those, the statues. Apart from that, people don't talk about the ancient Greek world. Whereas in India, the old civilization still survives in different forms, but I'm not going to go into that now. This is a class on Western political philosophy. So we'll talk about that. Now, if you look at the Athenian period is probably the brightest period in Greek history. Without being uncharitable to the Milesians and the Eleatics, without being uncharitable to them, if you look at Athens, Athens is something which is absolutely shining. Why? Why is it shining? A lot of it has got to do with the Eleatic school. That is when we talk about people like Plato specifically, and to a certain extent Socrates. But I'm not going to talk too much about Socrates because of the fact that Socrates didn't write anything, but Plato did record a number of things that that were talked about by sorry, by Plato. Plato recorded a number of things that were said by Socrates, and everything that we have seen so far, including the Eleatic school, is called PreSocratic. So when you're talking about something being pre-Socratic, just imagine what a landmark or a watershed Socrates is. Okay, you talk about all these people as pre-Socratics. So Socrates is this figure who represents perhaps the most important time, the most important time in Greek civilization. So to that extent, one has to talk about Socrates. One can't say we won't talk about Socrates at all. Now, let me try to explain a few things before we go to Plato. And of course, Socrates. The Athenian period and Athens itself is misunderstood by most people in the world. Most people in the world think that democracy originated in Athens and that it was a direct democracy. That is not true. That is absolutely not true. Because if you remember, I told you a couple of things. One of them being that Athens has this particular school of people called the Sophists. And it is with reference to the Sophists that one has to understand Socrates, one has to understand Plato, apart from the fact that the Greeks were somehow, they were, what should I say? The Greeks were somehow obsessed with human centrism in this particular school, which is called the Sophists. I had a small discussion on the Sophists as well with you. So I'll quickly go through that. What you need to remember is that the Sophists created a human-centric universe. Now, when I say it's a human-centric universe, you must please understand that as a metaphor. Okay, till such time that the Sophists rose to power. When I say power, they didn't hold any offices or anything like that. They were all pervading in ancient Greece. Excuse me. Sorry, bad throat. So if you look at these people are the ones who talked as if the only species, living species that mattered was the human species. So these are the proto-humanists. Please try to understand this. A humanist is one who has immense faith. A humanist is one who has immense faith in the abilities of the human being. But if you basically look at the Sophists, they are talking as if this whole world is meant for the human beings only, which is something that we have inherited in the modern period from them. In the modern period, what reigns is humanism. Now, humanism is bidimensional. It has two dimensions. One dimension of humanism is a good dimension. The good dimension is that you have immense faith in the human being and the human being's ability to essentially, what should I say, to essentially look at himself or herself as not just a cog in a wheel, but as somebody who's capable of various different kinds of, what should I say, various different kinds of uh, accomplishments. That's the word. Now, if that is the first dimension, the second dimension is a negative dimension. When you start believing that this world is basically for human beings, then you are making this rather big mistake, because you're denying the fact that other life forms have as much right over this world as the human being does. You're denying that. That is why it is negative. So let me give you a simple example. A simple example of this is, if you want, we've made an industry out of killing animals. Please, I am not a crusader for vegetarianism or veganism. I'm not a crusader for that. But just think of it. Try to think logically. What gives us the right to kill animals and eat them? If you look at the prehistoric times, when people killed animals, they killed them because you needed to eat. That is the hunter-gatherer stage, right? You needed to eat, so you killed an animal. You didn't kill more than you required. In fact, even today, in tribes, in most parts of, what should I say, in most parts of South America, Africa, when human beings kill a beast or an animal to eat, after they kill it, they say a prayer. The prayer that they say, and it's universal, mind you, it is universal. The prayer that they say is, thank you for giving up your life. By giving up your life, you are quenching our hunger, and you're also making us live. So your death gives us life. So this is the prayer that they make. This is the prayer that is the one that most tribals, even in India, even today, the Adivasis do this. But we urbanites, we don't do that. Poultry is an industry. Eggs industry. All kinds of meat is an industry. And we don't eat, like for example, you say you don't eat just a chicken. You don't eat just a fish. You also eat the eggs that are there in the fish, those which are called caviar. So we have become exotic eaters. And it is so evident in Singapore that when I was there, I just sat and ate noodles, like Maggi noodles. They don't have Maggi there, they have other brands. Because the first day when I went to a restaurant, I saw this phenomenon where somebody chooses a living creature. It could be a fish, it could be fowl, anything. You go and say, I want this. They take that out, go kill it, and make food out of it for you. Now, the thing is, I'm not a vegetarian. I was born into a vegetarian family, but for various reasons, I have turned the occasional non-vegetarian. For me, non-vegetarian food was just food. But in Singapore, when I saw this, it was a terrible experience because you're seeing this animal. If you order food from outside, we don't cook at home. You order food from outside and eat it, it's just food. But when you say, I want this fish, I want this chicken, if you're asking for those kind of things, then basically the problem is you're seeing an animal which is alive in this moment, but will be dead soon. I couldn't take it. Just couldn't take it. So I started eating, the Maggi noodle varieties as long as I was there. So you see, that is the negative side of humanism. The negative side of humanism is where you think this world is only for you. You say stray dog menace, kill the dogs. Why don't animals have the right to life? If I kill a human being, I'll be called a murderer. But so many people routinely kill animals. Routinely they kill them. Okay, so what does that mean? When animals are routinely killed, what does it mean? It basically means that we think that this world is ours. We cut down trees. One of the big tragedies is just 109 kilometers from Hyderabad. There is this tree called the Pillalamarri, a banyan tree. I don't know if any of you have seen it. Right now it's in tatters because people have chopped away at it. But at one time, it was the biggest banyan tree in the world. It was the oldest banyan tree in the world. It is more than 1,000 years old. And what do? You take an axe and go cut it. Now they have protected it after half of it is gone. But otherwise, people went and just cut it. So we will kill animals, we'll cut down trees. If there is a tree on the way to a road, cut it down. So this whole human civilization, which is based in the concept of humanism, treats the world as a property of the human beings. Everything that is there in the world is there for our comfort. It's there only for our comfort, for our good, for our happiness. And we don't think of other living creatures. In fact, we don't think of many as even living creatures. This particular tendency, this kind of humanism, is that which started in ancient Greece with the Sophists. The Sophists believed that the world was there for the human being. So if you look at some of the Sophists like Anaxagoras, Protagoras, they said there is nothing that the human being cannot do. Anaxagoras, in fact, weaved his own cloth, stitched his own clothes, made his own footwear, cooked his own food and ate it, and said, "Show me what is it that a man cannot do. Show me what is it that a man cannot do." So that is what the Sophists were doing. And they thought that they got their learning because they worshipped goddess Sophia, Sophia, not Sophia, Sophia. And these people also became commercial in ancient Greece. They started selling knowledge to people who didn't have it. They started selling knowledge to people who didn't have it. Now, Socrates technically is a sophist, technically speaking, because he was also a devotee of goddess Sophia. But you shouldn't call him a sophist, because if you call him a sophist, then you're bracketing him with people with whom he fought. And he fought so much that they killed him because he was becoming an inconvenience. While the sophists were going around telling people that we know this, we know that, Socrates was the person who said, "I know that I don't know." That's what he said. People like me, we say, or I say, I don't know that I don't know. That's what I say about myself. That sets me apart from Socrates. Socrates knew that there were certain things that there were most things he didn't know, is what he said. People like me don't know that we don't know anything. So I'll stop here today. We have got into Athens. We'll continue with the Athenian period. We'll do a little more discussion, a small discussion tomorrow on the Sophists, and then go on to Socrates and Pythagoras, the two big influences, on Plato. By far, the greatest of Greek philosophers. In fact, Professor Alan Whitehead, who himself was a philosopher, said that all Western philosophy is a footnote to Socrates. To Plato. A footnote to Plato. So that should tell you how great Plato was. People tell you Aristotle was great. He was, without doubt. But there are a lot of people who scorn Plato, which is not correct, because Plato's contribution to the growth of Greek civilization and later on to the human civilization itself is immeasurable. So tomorrow when we meet, I would first like to talk to you about the title of the book that Plato wrote, which is Politeia, the root of polis, P-O-L-I-S. And I shall demonstrate to you that there was no democracy in ancient Greece. This is a point I started making, but I didn't finish. Tomorrow I'll finish this point. There never was any democracy in ancient Greece. Democracy is only a modern phenomenon, and that too, it is not uniformly the same for everyone. People think America is a democracy. It is not. I always tell everyone, 538 people vote for a president. Is that a democracy? It's not. It's an oligarchy. Democracy is something that people tried having, but didn't get it. But that is a totally different subject. I'll talk about that in your other paper, for which I originally started the online classes. So bye for now. Tomorrow we'll look at the organization of the polis, because I want to tell you that the polis is not a city-state. From there, we'll continue with Socrates, a little bit of the Sophists is still left. Then we go to Socrates and Pythagoras, and then to Plato. So thank you very much. I hope you'll come tomorrow. I hope to see you. Thank you. Thank you, Rashmi. So see you tomorrow then. Thank you. Thank you, Varshita. Thank you, Kavya.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Vaibhavi. Okay, then. See you tomorrow.
Bye, sir.
Bye-bye. Have a good day.